Good morning. I know I took some risk by bringing IT into this room. When Stefan kindly asked me to join this symposium, I wasn't sure what I was going to expect from this group being the first, but I actually enjoyed quite a bit. I learned a lot about the global health, the food, the sustainability, as well as the obesity challenges. Now, it turned out Korea is in the other end of the spectrum, so it's pleased to see it. But also, I live in the United States, and there we have major challenges. So clearly, we are all here looking at issues that are tremendous opportunities and challenges that I believe both IT or biology coming together, we can be able to solve problems one may not be able to solve it alone. I'm not just talking about biology, I'm also talking about IT. In IT, we have a tremendous data. Data can only solve through better algorithms and better processing knowledge. And the way we mimic our brains and deep learning is a great example of how biology influencing IT so that we can be able to adjust so much number of data that are coming out around our devices. So my message today are really a couple of things. One, I want to share with you what I know, which is really state of industry in IT industry that I'm in. And I'll give you my personal journey around that. And then I will talk about the era of smart machines. It just means that there is a lot more data, and therefore we have a better insight around what it means. So I'll talk about that. And then I think I would like to discuss a little bit about how we can apply our technology into discussion that we had last 2 days about nourishing us, how these solve our global challenges, particularly addressing the area of lifestyle. And how can we, as an industry, as a company, we can influence the lifestyle as a whole. And then lastly, I'll talk about what we are doing with Nestle to try to address this given large challenges that are ahead of us. So I want to start with a little bit about Samsung because I think many of you may come from different backgrounds, and I wasn't sure how familiar you are. Samsung has 4 groups primarily, and some of them are traditional industry, some of them are financials. We have the largest insurance company in Korea. We also have the trading. We even have biologics. Now we are making pharma products in Korea. And lastly, I am president of Samsung Electronics and chief strategy officer. And you notice my address is Menlo Park. I live both in Korea and in Menlo Park, particularly in Silicon Valley, where much of our innovation is shaped out of the Silicon Valley, and having the Pacific Rim connection is extremely important for us to be successful going forward. So Samsung Electronics, as you know, is about a $180 billion organization. So that is a primary driver of the Samsung Group today. And I think that both Samsung and Intel, where I used to work as a new college grad, led a number of innovations. So I thought that 30 years ago, in the 80s, when I was in Korea, I had an opportunity to meet Chairman Lee, who was the founder of Samsung Group, as well as, at the time, I was at Intel. I guess I was Andy Grove's back boy, since I was right next to him. And I was 27 back then. So Andy now has passed away. But he was a great CEO. He drove Intel Corporation to be where we are. Back then, in the early 80s, it wasn't clear the microprocessor revolution was going to shape the way it happened. So often the innovation is unpredictable, difficult to predict. The outcome isn't clear. Back then, Intel was really fighting hard to get their position. However, over the years, you have seen tremendous changes that has been contributed through the innovation of semiconductor, nanotechnology, microprocessor technology, along with a bunch of other electronics that can be able to really enjoy the kind of technology that we are taking granted. So whether it's a smart TV, to your phones, to autonomous driving, featured Tesla, all those things wouldn't be possible without innovation in the electronics and the transistor density that has been going up through Moore's law. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Moore's law, but that is really around, it's an observation. Observation of ability to double your transistor capacity every 18 months at the reducing price. And this is why all of you in this room are expecting to see your next phone, your next car, your next TV to be cheaper and better and faster. And that is the possibilities that we have grown. Now, it is interesting today, if you look at the possibility of microprocessor, it's still about the capability of a mouse brain. So to get to where human brain, it's probably going to take more time. In fact, I'm not sure whether we can ever reach, but there is a thing called singularity. And there's a lot of debate about that. So I think a lot of us scientists and experts are thinking maybe middle of 2030s, maybe the capability can catch up in terms of processing power. I'm not sure whether it can catch ever the emotional side of it, so I'll leave that to debate. So the tremendous changes in the technology helped us to really grow things that we are not used to, but now we're getting used to. So think about your phones. I'm not sure how many of you touched this Goldie Gecko phone. This was one of the earliest Motorola phones. It was $4,000, and you can talk maybe 60 minutes at maximum. And it took 10 hours to charge, and it was heavy. And it was also not that affordable and available. And today, I know phone can be a bit controversial or something today. I recognize when you're pushing the envelope of technology, you do get into a difficult boundary conditions. We moved up our battery capacity by 20% in our new Note phones, and we had difficult challenges, and we took immediate actions to take all the phone back, which is over 2 million phones that was in the market. The defect rate of that phone was less than 180 out of 2 million phones. So we're talking about small number, but because of safety concern, we decided to take all the phone back, which didn't help our earnings call. We had to move down our numbers a bit. It was a fairly expensive recall, right? We talked about $5 billion. So for most companies, if you have that such recall, you're going to bankrupt. But for us, I think it was a hit, but still we have almost $50 billion revenue in a quarter. And our earnings have to go down from, I think, predicted $8.5 billion to more like $5.5 billion. So it hurt us, but it's not kill us. It hurt us, but we're going to learn from it. It hurt us, but it's going to help us to become even better company because we'll be looking at this as an opportunity to improve our quality and balancing better technology in terms of the balancing between the pushing technology versus the looking at the safety of the technology that you're dealing with. But we are in an envelope where all these technology that we're using, in a way, all of us are pushing. That's how we get things better, and sometimes we take some hard lessons. But anyhow, 2016, one of the phones we announced is a Galaxy 7 and Galaxy Note that I talked about. But Galaxy 7 is actually a very popular phone. It had a number of radios and sensors that actually all of you, I don't know how many of you using Samsung phone. Can you raise hand, please? Thank you. So you are using a lot of sensors in your phones that are giving you a lot of information that may or may not be useful for what you're doing. But the data is there. And this is an example of technology that are not a phone anymore. You live with it. It's a personal device, and it's a part of you in many ways. If you're a teenager, you'll be looking at your phone over 200 times a day. Now, I'm not sure about you, but at 9 o'clock, I shut it down, because that's the only way I can get some sleep. But, some people like my daughter, she's going to sleep with the phone. And I do worry about, I don't know, we didn't talk about global challenges, but that could be one of major challenges for our global health, given our ancient brain that have to deal with new technologies. I'm not sure how we can balance all those, but that's not an area of my expertise. I think our job is really creating technology, enabling people to live with the data that can be able to be useful. And some areas, I think we are in a wave where now the products that you are using is much smarter. So you remember, I started my career as a personal computer era at Intel with processors. And back then, it wasn't clear how dominant that's going to be. And in fact, I remember one of mega innovator of electronics, the founder of DAC, Ken Olsen, said, this is a toy. And as you know, in the 80s, they became obsolete. WAN computer, DAC, data general. So innovation has no mercy. It is like a knife edge, or sushi, sometimes I call. What I meant is that usually you don't want to have an old sushi. You want to have a fresh sushi. And when you miss that window, you probably want to throw that away. Same thing in high tech. It's hitting that window is really critical, and that makes it success and failure. And I think you see a number of companies not being able to see the window of opportunity, or either being too early or too late or not recognizing. And obviously, internet era, all of us got connected. And then I think mobile phone era really put us that internet into your pocket and personalized it. So the question is, what's next era? And we call it smart IoT era. Smart because we already have a lot of data. Can you get better insight from all this data that with us? That means it's not about singularity of one particular data. It's about fusion of data. Data that are coming from very different places that you would not expect. It's not about data by itself, but it's the small data that are all coming together. And this is where the big data comes together. And the big data is going to help us to learn more about us than the things that I think Leroy mentioned this morning. Part of what he's describing is really about smart era and using different type of data. You want to get a better insight about where we are going. So that's really the era we are excited about. We think this era is a little different than prior era because it's not about consuming or making productive of your task, but it's things that we cannot do by ourselves. It's kind of things that you cannot do alone. Using crowd and population data, we can solve much, much bigger problems. So let's look at life in an instant. And this is just really the observation of immersive nature we are in today. And it's not something that we can just say tech, because it's with you every day. It's in your family. It's in your social network. Sally talked about importance of network, importance of social thing. And I think that you will see that amount of data that are going on in 60 seconds. So this is looking at, in fact, this data is already old. It's 3 weeks old, and this is probably already overpassed. But in a minute, there are 5 billion transactions that are going on. So that's a lot of data that are passing through. In a minute, there are almost 500,000 photos are taken. I never used it, but it turned out Tinder is really popular too. Almost a million hit in 60 seconds. So I asked one of my guys, what is Tinder? Okay, so I think you know. And so, basically we're living in a world of data that are inundating with us. Instant gratification and immersive data that are either helping us or challenging our ancient brain, distracted, not being focused. And in fact, most people, if you're a teenager in particular, you're talking about 6 or 7 devices, from PC to your phones, your TV, tablet, and you're moving this data back and forth, and many of them are opening simultaneously. So this is a global, interesting challenges that we're dealing with. So the question, I think, is what can we do? And this slide is actually old for me, but I've been using the same thinking around the challenges that we have. It doesn't really go away overnight. It's about the health, and a lot of people talked about importance of the fitness as well as personalized medicine or personalized health. Obviously, anything you deal with a large number of data, security is going to be critical. And we have an infinite need for communication. So we are working on 5G technology. So today, we are in 4G, right, called LTE. Your phone most likely is doing 4G. 5G, which is going to be in trial in Pyeongchang Olympic Game in Korea in 2018, it'll have 100 times faster download. And then by Tokyo Olympic Game 2020, that could be in deployment. So we're talking about bandwidths that are much greater than ever been. And because of the bandwidth, all of a sudden our entertainment is not going to be based on schedule. It's going to be based on demand. It's based on your personal taste. It's based on what you want to see, not what they want you to see. And that's a change that are happening in front of us. So there are many global challenges, and I appreciate the discussions that I heard last 2 days. But I decided to pick one, and one particular topic that I also care about, which is global health. This is a problem not only in America, or UK, or Europe, or in Asia. It's a global issue. Particularly in Korea and Japan, aging is becoming a major issue. The birth rate is less than 1. As it became an advanced, developed country, the birth rate is coming down, and it's increasingly pressuring society to deal with the challenges of aging, which also in turn translate to health challenges as well, because that's the #1 driver of cost. So let me just give my perspective. Now I'm recognizing I'm going boundary of IT to new areas, so I'm sure you have a lot of experts in this room, so hopefully I will get by with my knowledge in the area that I'm trying to do. Let me start with why we are interested in health. Samsung is already in health business. We have the largest hospital system in South Korea already. And we already have a medical imaging business, which is diagnostic-driven. We're also in a biopharmaceutical business in doing biologics and biosimilars. And these are fairly new business. It's not that old. But it turned out if you can make semiconductor device, and Samsung is the second largest semiconductor company in the world after Intel, making about 40 billion chips a year. So probably every electronic gadget you touch most likely has a Samsung component inside, including Apple phones. And as you are driving this nanotechnology for high volume, you can apply the same thing into other manufacturing driven in highly reliable environment. So this is an area that we've been looking at. And I think you know the mobile and consumer and devices. So these are all the things that are enabling us to be in the marketplace and contributing indirectly, but also enabling data structure and infrastructure that enables the pipes and being able to digest this information. So it's really important that we look at how we are moving into this direction and enable it. But let me start with a problem statement. So what is the problem? And I think I don't have to tell you because you guys are the expert. But clearly the healthcare cost is only in one direction. I think Sally mentioned last night. She said something like growth rate is 1%, inflation rate is 2%, health cost is going up 4%. And so, that's UK perspective, but obviously I think that does apply to many other countries. In some countries, that's even worse. So the chronic disease is a major portion of what's driving the healthcare cost. And aging will only accelerate that issue. So the question, I think, is what can we do on this issue? And I think earlier Leroy talked about the lifestyle, importance of lifestyle as a driver of solution as well as an opportunity. And again, we believe that there are many things that attribute to this issue. And the area that we can work on is the biggest area, which we think is a lifestyle, based on what I understand. And lifestyle has many different elements to it, whether it's an activity, whether it's a nutrition, whether it's a sleep, stress, all those things that we're living with. And the question, I think, is what can we do to contribute to improve lifestyle going forward? So I want to talk a little bit about our thinking on this. And I cannot say that we are in it all the way, but we have a way to attack this issue as a mega problem and share with you some of our thoughts on this. So it's not conclusive, but we are in a journey. So let's start with where we are today is a consumer adoption of digital health, or some people would say preventive health. And obviously, many of you are using app, monitoring your steps, and maybe calories, and then fitness devices. So we have a Gear Fit, and things that can give you more information. Some are reasonably accurate. Many of them are not really, accurate yet. So as an example, heart rate monitor. I'm sure you guys have the sensors that are built in. Usually, if you sit down, it works pretty well now. But when you start running, the rate sort of sudden changes. It's what I call motion artifacts. It is the algorithms that have to compensate for changes that are going on. Really hard to do, it turned out. And then also other sensors that we don't have that could be really, really useful. So we put together a campaign called Era of Wearable Sensors. And can we be able to create sensors that can help us going forward? So I want to talk about this journey that we are on. So one of the most important things is really sensors. Without sensors, without accurate sensors, we're not going to get information that we need to know. Today, car has many sensors on it. So when you drive your car, you don't think about sensors anymore. But I remember not too long ago, when I was learning to drive, I need to open my, hood, look into dipstick, and see whether my oil is out. I'm sure many of you remember that. Maybe some young people may not remember. But it wasn't that long ago. And think about air pressure in your tires. You don't think about it. You just get some meters telling you, red or green, whatever. So the technology, the car is already an example of many sensors that are making our lives better. It's going to get even better with autonomous driving, ADAS technology, cameras, radars, lidars, putting it together. I think it's going to make it much safer driving. Already, my wife will tell me that she prefers, when I'm in my Tesla, autonomous mode than me driving. Maybe that tells a little bit about the way I drive, because it keeps very constant speed and constant distance with the car in front. And that alone has some benefits. But it's just the beginning. I think it's going to get even better as the technology applies and as the software gets better. And same thing around phones. How about humans? How many sensors do we really have that are monitoring us? 0. So, and we only find out when you see your doctors and annual checkup, and then they monitor your blood pressure and whatever things that they want to monitor you, and then you go, oh, you got certain issues. But is that the right approach? And I think Leroy mentioned earlier, it's about being able to anticipate. It's about participating and being able to understand better about your body. So we have a program called Voice of the Body. And Voice of the Body is really about learning about us, learning about you, before it becomes an issue going forward. So we create a program called Symband. We spend about $50 million. The whole idea was not commercial purpose, just want to learn about what are the available sensors, how can we encourage entrepreneurs, scientists, that can participate in helping us to learn better about us. So we developed a band called Symband, which is a basically open platform to anybody can come in. And it monitors ECG with a different type of PPG because it turned out, depending on your color skin and tone, you have a different optical characteristic. So you have to adjust based on different body types and color types. Galvanic skin response, so that you understand better about stress. And body impedance, as well as accelerometer, so you can understand your motions, your movements, and then being able to measure your core temperature. So the idea behind this project was really help different partners to work with us to advance understanding better about body. So, and we create a sensor platform where sensor module can be replaced by someone else's module. So we have a company in Israel. They developed a company called SensiFree, and they developed it so that it can use not optical, but some other technology to monitor ECGs. And that's fine with us, because I think given where we are, we can use all the help. We're also encouraging companies like in the area of glucose monitoring. So we invest in several companies in that. We're also investing in companies in blood pressure. They can help us to learn more about the trend. In fact, one of them was an EPSG spin-out, Lama Micro. So it's an example of taking risk and helping startups to push the envelope of innovation, because it's an area you cannot do it alone. There are so much different areas that we have to push. But when we come together, we think we can be able to make much bigger progress than doing it by ourselves. So this is an example of a product we are working on, and we are actually announcing that products to help people to monitor their sleep. Using phone is a very hard to do because of the other vibrations and messagings that are coming, but this one kind of goes right below your bed. I'm not trying to promote my product. What I'm trying to say is technology, sensors, can give us a lot more information about us than that we have done before. We are novice in this area, but I think over time, with collaboration with companies, we can prove better, accurate sensing and better health tips and a connected world. These things are going to be very useful way to help us to live better. By the way, we connect this alarm so that as you come out, you can automatically turn on your coffee machines, as well as your air conditioning when the temperature goes down based on your preference. So these are examples of what we call Internet of Things. I would say it's still early, but you will see more and more of examples of different disciplines coming together and trying to make our lives better and impact. So what does, I put chocolate in there, so I didn't mean Nestle is a chocolate-only company, but actually my image of Nestle was a chocolate company back old days. And as I learned more about Nestle, I realized that this is the largest food company in the world, and has a number of products and the lines that could be highly complementary with Samsung. So Valerio came to visit me once, not too long ago, and he was very persistent that we should work together in developing a solution that can benefit consumers. I wouldn't think much of it in the beginning, but actually the more I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk about a little bit about our partnership. Basically, both companies are reaching out global marketplace and large number of the consumers. And we ship over 600 million consumer systems, from refrigerator to washing machines to phones to TV, all those things. So we reach a number of consumers that are already connected. All of them will be connected through IoT. And in lifestyle, we think understanding the lifestyle and health and nutrition are really critical elements of that. So this is an example of two companies may never talk in old days. But now we see coming from different directions, IT and nutrition and health, coming together, we are collaborating because none of us can solve these problems alone. By working together, and I'm not talking about just Nestle, it could be startups. By working with other partners, by opening up our platform, we can accelerate faster than doing it alone. And that is really the key message that I want to make. But in our case, given our global presence and brand, we think there's a lot we can contribute by collaborating together here. So what are we trying to solve? And it's, in a way, is an extension of understanding voice of the body through sensors, through algorithms, and through cloud data, and through analytics. We think we can be able to learn much more about us. Now, Leroy talked much more clinical perspective this morning. And clinical is very critical, but for us as a consumer company, all of you, all the people, at affordable price is really critical as well. So our interest is about masses. That's the business we are in. So I think that our goal is really about, can we work together to solve and address lifestyle? So example is really creating a platform, creating an open platform where we are going to work together and we're going to invite people to bring in their data through open API and through sensors and wearables and phones. We're going to capture information about what we are and how we live, along with intelligence. We think we can be able to give a better coaching. I think that someone mentioned, I think it's Lloyd, said something about it's not about apps, it's also about coaching. It's true. our behavior wouldn't just happen because it's an app. So it have to be comprehensive and have to be accurate and have to be relevant and have to be simple. And simplicity is still challenging. I'm sure many of you have used different apps. And so it's something that we must work on as a consumer company. So my message really to you is that we care about health. As an IT company, it's a new space. We are in journey. We are just began. I think that our journey began about 3.5 years ago. But I believe we can make huge impact by working with the different players that are out there. I used Nestle as an example, but it could be many other companies and institutions that can be together to solve very difficult challenges that are in front of us. So thank you very much.